some data governance issues or data issues, what should they do to get some outcomes?
Honestly speaking, although I am very much, a technology freak kind of person, but I feel sometimes that if we are not addressing business challenges or our thoughts are not aligning with the business processes, we are not succeeding in the manner we want to, right? What's the meaning of that? If you ask me how I am approaching to my customer, I'm always saying that, okay, well, technology is fine, but technologies keep changing over the period of time. So go by the business use case implementation manner. If you have like some certain processes, first fix that, think that how many manual steps are there, use AI there. To address such kind of problem, I would say that go by business process way, understand that how data can speak in the business language. Okay. Nowadays, we are all talking about like different sort of data models, how we can introduce data as a product, or maybe like data product kind of scenarios are there. But thing is, if those data products or data as a service are not speaking from the business point of view, there's no use of it, right? So usually, in my understanding, or I would say it's a kind of like a favorite thing for me.
Okay, thank you everyone. Good afternoon. I think we have been having a very good sessions, and especially the keynote just we had. I think you would have got some good information about the Solix 4th generation platform. And we also covered some of the data governance aspects of it. But our focus today is going to be on the data, the governance, the trust, and the ethics side of the data. So I think since the morning we've been talking a lot about AI, agentic AI, and so much of the different use cases, how this can be leveraged. But I think behind the scenes, what we're going to talk about just now is going to be the real, the background, the crux of it. So without the data, and if you cannot trust it, if you cannot really have the right data set, we can't really use any sort of AI, Gen AI, agentic AI. Any AI is not a good AI. So with that, in today's session, we're going to touch upon 4 different aspects of the governance and the data aspects of it. I think most of you maybe know already what is data governance. We'll start with that, just to bring everybody onto the same page. And we also touch upon some of the new concepts that are more relevant in the age of AI, like transparency, trustworthiness, and also ethics and responsible AI. And we also talk about AI governance and compliance. So those are all the topics that we'll touch. I think with that, first of all, thank you for the panelists. And I think everybody has a great the background. So hopefully we'll make it a very good, useful session for everybody. So let me start with the starter question kind of a thing, data governance. I think it's most common, most of you know. So my first question or the topic for discussion is, given the data governance, how enterprises, specifically the finance departments, are having any challenges adopting AI, and what are their challenges adopting data governance for AI use cases? Are there why are they not able to deploy? I think we heard that 95% of the projects are failing and they're not successful. Can we talk about what are the real hindering reasons or issues that are stopping them? Maybe I'll start with Soni. Can you talk about it?
So thanks everyone. First of all, I would really appreciate the way in which this event is being structured, and I really appreciate and I really feel enlightened with the different session which has been done prior to this panel discussion at this point of time. Okay, so first of all, I would like to just talk about the data governance part. Okay, so when we are talking about AI, adoption of AI and so many things we are talking. But governance, I would say it's the backbone of the AI. I would simply say that, okay. What's the meaning of that? If your data is not in place, your data is not correct, your quality is not up to the mark, it is not going to work with the AI at all. This is the first thing I would like to say. And during this discussion, I was looking at the LinkedIn, and I just came to know about a very cartoonish, I would say, picture there, where everyone is talking about AI strategy, which was just like a tip of iceberg. But behind the scene, there are a lot of things which are not yet fixed. First thing I would say that data is being siloed. This is the first thing. I mean, no one is talking about that. Okay. Yes, there is a lot of challenges around it. Like if we are going by the transformation route, it is going to cost you a lot. This is the first thing. I mean, most organizations are facing. Why should I move my data? They are first asking this. Second thing is about if I am going by the transformation route, how much cost I am going to incur? Okay, this is another question being asked. And third question is, I have so many legacy applications. If I am going to cover those business area with the help of AI, or I want to introduce AI into it, how I'm going to first modernize them, and then I can untap their actual business value of it. So this is another challenge organizations are facing. So if I'm just summarize my thoughts, it is basically governance is actually sticking in the 4 core areas. Data is being siloed, legacy issues, modernization cost, and undocumented your business processes. Thanks.
No, I think you need the 4th generation platform, I think, to solve these problems, I think. So just a quick follow-up question on that. And maybe, what should finance departments or enterprises should do to get the real outcomes? Maybe fixing some data governance issues or data issues. What should they do to get some outcomes?
Yeah, honestly speaking, although I am very much, a technology freak kind of person, but I feel sometimes that if we are not addressing business challenges or our thoughts are not aligning with the business processes, we are not succeeding in the manner we want to, right? What's the meaning of that? If you ask me how I am approaching to my customer, I'm always saying that, okay, well, technology is fine, but technologies keep changing over the period of time. So go by the business use case implementation manner. If you have some certain processes, first fix that, think that how many manual steps are there, use AI there. To address such kind of problem, I would say that go by business process way, understand that how data can speak in the business language. Okay. Nowadays, we are all talking about different sort of data models, how we can introduce data as a product, or maybe data product kind of scenarios are there. But thing is, if those data products or data as a service are not speaking from the business point of view, there's no use of it, right? So usually, in my understanding, or I would say it's a kind of a favorite thing for me. To just go by some sort of taxonomies, or I would say recently semantic layer or ontology. So I'm usually talking in those terms because if you're looking at the certain products which are already there in the market, like Palantir and all those things, they are talking from the ontologist point of view, and their results about, results in terms of business outcome, they are fantastic. They are churning the data in such a way that they are speaking the business language, not the technical one. So that's where I feel that there has to be some shift we have to make where data should speak business processes and business language rather than just technology thing. Because technologies are keep changing at this point of time. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much. And now let's, Praveen, Soni have fixed all the data problems. So now we have a very good data. So the next topic is how do we trust it? What kind of transparency, trust that we can apply AI on top of the data? So my next question to Saran is, what should the organizations, finance organizations, how do they deploy the AI? Of course, we have the right data, but how do they deploy, especially from the regulator's perspective or the customer's perspective? How can they bring the transparency and trustworthiness?
Yeah, being a CA, more like I'll answer like a CA. Coming back to the question of data, then we'll go into the transparency. I'm sure we all are. How many of you are having private limited companies here? I'm sure more than 50-60%. Auditors do come every day to our office, every year rather. We know what set of data which is required auditors to audit. Even though audit time is year on year goes more. See, I strongly believe business is there for centuries. Technology started coming in between. whatever the business having the challenges, be it with respect to the data, with respect to anything, transparency, the same challenges will continue even in the AI in a simple way. When it comes to the transparency, this is what I always, surprise. Recently, I being a forensic auditor, I do help CBI, UOW in solving some of the cases. I closely work with them. Normally, when you give an answer, we appreciate. When ChatGPT give an answer, AI agent give a result, we appreciate. But if you go and tell the same thing to CBI or any regulator for that matter, they'll say, no, 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 no. Give me the evidence. I wanted to know how it's solved. So that is, I feel, the fundamental factor which will be differentiating the applications what we build tomorrow. If the transparency is not there, because we don't want a magician which can give me an answer. So I strongly feel AI should not be a magician. Without explaining if AI can give an answer, I appreciate it, but I don't continue for my regular work. We always ask the question, how? We being a chartered accountant, of course, in the finance domain, we don't believe with the answers. We believe with the transparency. Starts from what data we keyed in. That's what the plays very important, the starting point. Then how it processed. Then after the process, how we can eliminate the bias. And after that, what is the final result? I can even put up one case of IIT Hyderabad, the GST. In fact, it's in the public domain. FIR has been filed, so I'm just mentioning it. There's no issue. There was a hard coding in the system program that some of the GST numbers can be eliminated while scrutinizing. Let's say if tomorrow AI can do this, who will be responsible? We can't make anyone responsible. So that is what very, very important. I feel these all are case studies. These all problems are there for the last many decades and centuries. I'm sure these will continue with AI. However, we just need to understand each and every problem with a case study, fix it, and get up the second case study, fix it, and so on. Probably, if you allow me, I'll put one more thing.
Sure.
When it comes to the cyber, that's what we always, find it. There was a guy, Triveni Singh, who established the first cyber commissionerate in the country. Very excellent person when it comes to the cyber crimes. One day, in a lighter tone, when we were sharing the dais in one of the course, I asked him, how do you crack all these courses? Then he said, this is the conversation almost like 7-8 years back. Who said we are cracking? First one fraud happened in the cyber, we'll try to understand what is the modus operandi. We'll put into our register that this is the way a fraud can happen. The next fraud will be entirely different. We'll spend some time, we'll update our register. Then third fraud can happen. We'll look into our register, nothing will match, we'll make it. I feel the challenges will keep on coming. It's about how we address by making sure that the transparency, leveraging into that.
Thank you. I think he brought up very important points. Like, one of them I can pick up is the explainability. I think anybody is practicing AI, building solutions. If you cannot explain how this is really working, I think it's not really usable. You cannot sell it anywhere, or you cannot really adopt anywhere. So very important point. Thank you. And he also brought up another important, the point is the responsibility or accountability. That's sort of my follow-up question. I think, so if decisions are made by, of course, humans and also some of the algorithms, who should own the accountability? Maybe if you can throw your light, like some your experience, who should own the accountability when humans and algorithms are jointly making decisions?
Yeah, in fact, that even in my previous answer, that was partly answered. It should be both. That's what the strong policy should be made in the organization. That's the reason there should be clearly defined roles, which are very important. In fact, that is there already in our organization, every organization. Now you should make the data owner who is clear, and who is the guy supervising the model, that has to be clear. And there should be a clear-cut accountability, because I am sure even if you keep all these things, something will miss it. And I look into always as a chartered accountant in a different angle. The litigation will certainly come, because until unless you make a strong documentation, keeping the accountability with the definitions, it will be very difficult. Okay, I'm sure I can even foresee in next 5 to 10 years, the most of the court cases when it comes to the IT Act would be, we both implemented, we have done our job. But this mistake belongs to whether audit or whether data or whether model. So I'm sure these type of litigations will come. Those all can be easily avoided by making a strong documentation, role bifurcation at the time of, making at every step level. If we can make the person accountable, I'm sure that will be at least accountable in the court of law.
Thank you so much. So that kind of leads to the next question topic. And one of the biggest challenge, especially adopting AI, is the ethical, responsible AI and sort of a bias. So, our question is, and how, especially the finance organizations, should be aware of it and what kind of systems they have to build so that the systems unintentionally will not discriminate in terms of responses or the activities or actions. So, Kiran, can you throw some light on how AI finance systems should adopt and manage the risk with the responsible AI?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here. It's a privilege to be sitting with you guys. Thanks a lot, Veena. And thank you very much for listening to us. So in terms of bias, right, like you pointed out, sir, if you don't trust the data, there's nothing, garbage in, garbage out, right? You can't trust the model, right? But trust goes beyond model. I think you need to have the proper governance tools, you talked about it, to ensure that, we have the right in to the training to get the right out. There are 3 pillars from a bias detection perspective that, industry generally follows, right? First is you detect the data itself. You think about it of auditing the data, auditing the model once a training is done to check if there's any bias in there. So those are typical practices that they follow. The second is, you try to mitigate, maybe you nudge the model a little bit. If there is a bias towards the model is already created, you couldn't properly fix it, it's in production, now you need to make sure there's no gender bias, for example, right? So how do you do that? You have to nudge it. There are ways in which you can mitigate that. So that's the second way, proper testing and so on, that is the second mitigation. The third is monitoring, right? You got to have the tools, the governance in place to keep checking what is happening, who is inputting the data and so on. So those 3 ways are standard ways in the traditional classical ML approach. Now with generative AI, that adds another dimension of its own. These models come pre-trained, right? So you don't even do any training on your own. Very rarely, not yet. I haven't seen many organizations that do fine-tuning or customization. Or even, if somebody wants to build a model from scratch, it's so expensive, it's difficult. So there you need to have, typically you must have heard about this term guardrails, right? So you need to build the guardrails for the model. There's no other way. That's the nudging part that I talked about. So that's the way in which the industry is going in terms of, is it working, as Saran Kumar said, we'll have to see. And we go day by day, we fix one problem, when another problem comes, we fix that and move on.
So, yeah, absolutely, as we are learning a lot. So, and just maybe follow-up question, right? See, one of the biggest challenge, at least I've seen, is that how do you train, employees, the people who are going to use this, the data or AI in and out, day in, day out? How do you prepare the people or the teams, especially in the finance organizations, so that they can successfully adopt and should be able to use it and they can trust it?
Yeah, I think, are you going more from the ethics side of things, or are you talking from how do you encourage them to use it? Which side are you? ethics perspective.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So ethics is a beast of its own, right? So once we go into ethics, there's no policy that can control ethics, right? Ethics is an evolving thing, right? It's part of your culture. Number one is it should be ingrained in the culture, right? So you need to involve the right set of folks from disparate, teams within the organization or even backgrounds. The second part of it is you got to, I don't want to say tools, but maybe you got to do some social engineering by doing things like ensuring default behavior. For example, if you're training a model and you want to go into production, the default process is that, oh, so and so have to review it. This is the way, this is the testing that needs to be done before it even you think about going into production, right? So that's the social engineering part that you plug it into play. And then the last part, I guess, you can think about, from an ethics perspective is it's the team, right? The culture is there, but end of the day, you got to continuously train because ethics is a moving goalpost. What is ethical 5 years ago? You talk to my daughter and she'll say, no, what you're doing, what you're saying, the language you're using, this is all wrong, right? So that keeps changing. So you need to have a continuous learning process. You can't keep it as though, okay, I've defined it, now let's go. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. And it's not like a one-time thing, and we have to continuously train, continuously learn. So that kind of takes me to the next topic and next question. Again, Vikram is so now we've been talking about we talked about data governance, how we trust the data and all. So now everybody, like every country, every government is coming up with the new regulations on AI governance. A good example can be EU released AI governance for enterprise, European Union, and should organizations go and adopt them, and should we implement them? Because it's evolving, right? Every country is coming up with their own regulations now. So what should finance organizations do given the current situation?
Okay, so obviously first the thanks to Vinay and her team. I think the team executes well for every event, and there's lots of events you're doing. I'll repeat the question. The question is you have all these acts that are coming in, and should you build for them proactively or not? And I'll give a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is ask Indigo Airlines, should you proactively build for a regulation or not, right? So that's way. Okay. And I'll talk about a longer answer, and there are two things you have to understand. You have to understand the crux of these laws, right? So Europe is a very clear guarded castle type where the law says if you are into this type of AI, this is what you do and you will get this penalty. India is a very Panchayati Raj kind of model where you are told a free AI Act guidance and the law is not clear, and suddenly the law gets defined or changed. For example, I'll not digress into high frequency trading and Jane Street, but the law gets sometimes invented way. I will ask a very simple quiz that will elaborate things. Okay. Now, when should you implement? I want you to clearly understand the penalties that are there, right? Europe has a very clear 35 million or 7% of turnover. And I'm going to ask you just 2 or 3 simple scenarios, and I want you to let me know whether they qualify for getting a 35 million penalty or not. One simple thing is you are making a bank app and you have a buy now button, right? You are an insurance bank, you are selling insurance, you are a bank and more, and you have a buy now button in which you want to upsell and cross-sell people based on whatever behavior they have been doing. Okay. So that's situation one. Second situation, you do scoring of people, whether you should give them a loan or not, based on parameters that are non-financial. Is the person healthy or not? Is the person, for example, visited a certain set of sites or not? Two questions. Third, your manager decides or somebody in the IT decides that I have developed a new model where I'll be able to scan faces or scan their profiles or photograph, and based on that give some scoring on whether we should give it to them or not. That detects why. My simple question to all of you is 1, 2, 3. Which of these, how many of these you think will not make you eligible for a clear 35 million euro penalty? Anybody thinks less than 3? Let me know. So all 3 make you eligible today for getting a penalty of $35 million. And all 3 are very common practices. So start implementing now.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, thank you. And the other maybe relevant question or related question, Vikram, is that we've been hearing about model drifting, data drifting, maybe misuse of these models, right? And maybe this can happen, because that model might have trained maybe some time back, and data has changed, the business scenarios have changed, and how should especially the finance department should be prepared and deal with this kind of a model drifts and data drifts and misuses?
Yeah, so I think I'll try to keep this answer shorter, but I think misuse is like any other misuse by an employer breaking any law. You have to get it signed in the document, you have to read that, retrain that and others. I think the problem comes in the data and the AI model. With a person, you're very clear, you have an onboarding process, you have an offboarding process, and you have some review process in the middle. This is exactly what you have to follow for data and AI, because what happens is people don't follow that. If there is an AI project shut down, do you have an offboarding process for it? One of the largest pharma companies globally 2 weeks ago brought down 60 AI projects running globally to 5 and put the team under watch that if this does not get delivered this quarter, then there is a major shakedown coming. So when you are doing offboarding, and I think the theme for 2026 is going to be a lot of AI garage sale rationalization, because last year CEOs had signed up with NVIDIA and others agreements. So can you, for data drift, set that same thing when data is not in use? So other part is continuous. I'll just talk about one mistake people make in the continuous monitoring. You cannot have the same software that manages the data used for monitoring the data. So it's a common sense that maker and checker will be different. So whether it is data monitoring, whether it is AI monitoring, you have to have a different designation handling it. So a lot of software companies evolved to having a head of software testing. In India, the chief data officer still doesn't exist by and large. So the chief data testing officer or AI model testing officer has to be a separate role. So that's short.
No, thank you so much, because see, just all this organization just started adopting these models, but over the period of time, so they see these kind of problems. So I think that will be good, feedback. So, again, thank you for, throwing some light and sharing some details around, the transparency, trustworthiness, the bias and ethics and AI governance. So my next question or the topic is for everybody. So if you have to implement, maybe very important AI projects, especially on the governance side, maybe what are one or two of the top priorities, that the top things that you would like to implement first, so that your AI projects can be successful. So maybe I'll start with Praveen again. So what are the one or two top AI governance related, you will do to start an AI project?
Yeah, see, although I will be try to answer in two folds here. First is AI. So of course, I mean, right at this point of time, I mean, everybody is working on different sort of projects, but still we are lacking somewhere about some orchestration thing, right? So we are developing agents, we are deploying them, trying to get some value out of it. But thing is, where is the orchestration? So this is something, I mean, still we feel missing. And if you ask me, I mean, what first thing I would do in the year 26, I think I should start working, or I should, I mean, whatever thought process I'm having, I will start measuring it in terms of like orchestration process. This is from the AI perspective. Second thing is about the data governance. I mean, because it is one of the most important aspect I'm thinking. So there are two aspects I would really love to take care. First one is data quality. See, in our Tech Mahindra, I mean, we are usually doing a framework called data quality as a service, where we are like embedded AI, where whenever we have some data quality issues and all those things, so AI itself detecting those issues and fixing it. So data quality is another aspect which I really want to take care of that. And not the last, but I would say that if you think AI is a storm, then I would say there is one more hurricane is brewing, that is post-quantum cryptography. Okay, so I would say that, I mean, with the rise of the quantum computing, I mean, people will start thinking about how data security is going to, I mean, take care with regard to that. Because at this point of time, whenever we are talking about from the data governance, of course, security is part of that only. So this new type of compliance will actually, disturb the whole process, because it is going to disturb in multiple fold, like how we are going to store the data, how much storage basically we have to increase. Because see, with the help of post-quantum cryptography, size is going to increase, your KMS keys size are going to increase. So all these things are actually going to impact your entire data ecosystem. So yes, from the compliance standpoint, this is something we have to have a very seamless process, where if there is some new compliance are come into the picture, they are seamlessly integrated with our frameworks and all. So this is something I feel that we have to take care of that.
Absolutely, I think those are all the foundational things that you should consider before you start an AI project. Maybe Kiran, if you want to add, maybe what are your top 2 or 3 aspects that you would consider before you start an AI project, like the data aspects or training aspects or the tools aspects, what do you think is your priority for 2026 before you start an AI project?
Yeah, being part of Red Hat, I'm all about open. So I think open standards is something that we should implement before starting, because it ensures consistency. It ensures there are standardization of connectivity, because we're talking about agentic AI. It's about connecting your models to tools or data or systems. So that for me, building an open standardization around that is something I think is very, very critical. Of course, the whole bias and ethical aspects will always be there. But I think this is critical.
Thank you. So Vikram, I know, I think your company and your team has built agentic platform by yourself. Can you advise or give some guidance to the audience here in terms of governance perspective? Of course, this panel is focused on governance. What are all the aspects they should consider before they adopt or use or build agents like what you guys did?
Yeah, so thank you for giving me the chance to talk about. I think both Solix team and Ajit have always been encouraging. So I think I'll talk about agents. So 2 things are there. Okay, first you have to believe in, because we had a lot of data steward, data analyst, and the bottleneck is always comes down to me and a lot of people. We didn't believe, and you have to get a separate set of people to drive who have done that before. So I think agentic, our key learning was to come down to 3 things. One is that either you are a full agent workflow or you're not an agentic workflow. There's nothing in between. Human in a loop also has certain timeline on that. And that mindset change is the number 1 thing that uh, we are trying to get me and everybody to do. So when we moved from a team of 25 analysts and data steward, it came down to 2 with higher quality. And implementing this, sorry to say, cannot be done with a lot of people who don't convert. Everybody should be given a chance to convert because they stay and others. I'll tell you the difference between a digital person and an agentic person. If you give a digital person a website to make, they will say, I need designer, developer, all that. Somebody which is a true agentic person will think about how do I implement this in agentic workflow. So I think the work is moving to agents. The faster you're able to move, the more you will be freed up to do other things. Okay. So that's there. And our focus is more heavily pharma and regulated industries. Happy to talk more about Multiplier AI. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no, of course, like, because see, the platforms are all, like, in the end of the day, governance is same, irrespective of whatever the domain that you're building, the governance is kind of same thing. So I think finally, sir, like, do you want to add any advice, guidance in terms of what should they do from the governance aspect before they start AI projects, any AI projects?
Honestly, if it is an AI, ask the same question fourth time, it will be into hallucination. Hopefully, I will not be into. In fact, adding to all the people, I'll just add one point which I strongly believe that is missing in any of the AI products. In fact, this I identified from one of the person. One day, one guy came to me with a very interesting concept like, Saran, why should be a double entry system there in the market? I'll speak, it should post an entry in the system, double entry. I'll speak, it will query the thing. Then everything is perfect. Natural language to, accounting to, already systems are there from ledger posting, balance sheet, P&L, and retrieving. Then I said, excellent concept, but ChatGPT, Perplexity, every AI at the bottom they put it, I may give you wrong answer sometimes. For your product, will you keep this? Okay, so the point I'm trying to stretch is keeping the temperature, like we can call in the technical language, or how are you, when are you going to tell that my product is 80% accurate or 90% accurate? Because you can't build an accounting product that I may do mistakes. Gone. Right? You can't make a product to make the payments to the other person. I may sometimes be biased. So he'll push it to his relatives' accounts. So I strongly believe there should be a standardization where the product should confidently tell a percentage that, this is what the percentage I can be correct. I think at that point of time, even taking the decision will be very simple. I feel that point everyone has to work on. In fact, at the government's level, I am also in the board of C&AG and South Central Railway appointed by government. I mentioned this point. So how can you confidently tell that this is what the AI you are using? At the end of the day, it is clearly mentioning that I may do the mistake. That mistake, maybe this is the one. Okay, I feel that standardization may be required.
Absolutely, I think it's a very important point. Like, if you ask LLM, obviously every time you ask, it will give you a different answer. So hopefully, some of the MCP kind of concepts and maybe agentic concepts should solve that problem. But hopefully we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much. And would like to open up for any questions from the audience. Any questions, please let us know. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining us and talking about this governance topic. Thank you so much.